A modern right-wing man can't understand this painting. War is just bad business for him. The accumulation of property is his only goal in life. There must be always some way to compromise with enemies instead of dying. Right-wing man is emasculated with his neurotic need of comfort. There really exists only him, and he has no higher concepts in life. Not that he has read a single philosophical text in his lifetime, but modern world's mass media has turned him into seemingly all-knowing Epicurean that is inherently lazy to seek something more than his own mortal pleasures. There is nothing that he would sacrifice himself for. He is deeply disconnected from his people, but he has not attached himself to the global empathy cults in social media either. He takes some simple meme pictures as his flags that serve for his entertainment. The bottom is stifled for a while, and the soul is worthless currency. Those passionate strings are from Johann Sibelius from his first symphony. He is globally renowned classical music composer, but his ideological thoughts are left in dark for the most of his listeners. He longed for independent Finland, even to the point that some random Wikipedia article editor could easily make a footnote that he was right-wing radical that took part in fascist movements. But making that argument would be problematic, because there is also an argument that right-wing can't create art either. Perhaps that is true in modern sense. Economic realities and the need for materialistic pleasures is the most important factor in the political sphere. Only utopian socialist movements have been left with some freedom to live in the world of imagination, but even they are trapped in the vast and void life of global consumerism, and their art seems to be just spiteful anger that can only reflect the pile of trash that they are trapped under. There is also a reactionary movement in the modern right wing that maybe many would like to label the narrator of this video. Reactionary movement tries to be dogmatic and reach out for the immaterial concepts to be vital pillars of their beliefs. But this movement also misses the historical nuances and the concepts of these artworks that we are looking at today. Now take a good look at this painting. This painting reeks of glory and masculinity. War is the ultimate peak of a man. There he can part from his strong body, from his equally strong soul. It is dawn, and they are spearheading this movement of these people, even though they are still just children. Mere boys, but with the spirit that gives them advantage in arms. The terrain is cold and rough. One of them looks almost defeated and blinded by his bandages. Still, the drum keeps the beat, and the march for the glory continues. This painting captures almost all the elements that Finnish Golden Age composers were obsessed with. There is the rough nature and land. Nature is always beautiful to humans. We can look at mountains and deserts in awe, even though they are clearly dangerous territories to actually habitat. Only holy men come from these beautiful wastelands of death. Harsh nature nurtures spirituality. That is the Finnish people that live on this land. They are harsh and crass, but they persist even against the odds. They are admirable people, just like all the animals of nature that manage to exist in symbiosis with this cruel nature. But inside this fragile mortality comes out something beautiful that gives them right to be more than the inhabitants of this land. It is not shown in this painting. Although these men are just peasants with simple lifestyles and a strange language, they can still fill the nature around them with songs that surpasses the tunes of the birds. They have ancient poetry and tales that have universally resonating nuances about human life. They deserve to be heard, and most of all, they deserve to exist. They can't be hunted to extinction like the game of this land. The right to be heard and exist. That is a struggle that is portrayed in here. What war is this then? This is the War of Finland from 1808, a Napoleonic war that was fought between Sweden and Russia. It was a crippling defeat that the Swedish kingdom that led to Finland become autonomous duchy of Russia. The actual war was not glorious, but culmination of Sweden's decline that had lasted for centuries. Sweden was lacking cohesion, and the struggle between nobles and the king had finally led to this military catastrophe. Still, centuries later, it has become a myth that was created by the artists. It is showcasing that the Finnish people can take arms and fight for sovereignty for themselves, even though this war had nothing to do with Finnish independence originally. Here we enter the world of political reality and romanticism. This is the most biggest schism that prevents the creation of art. Myths are not allowed to form with constant disassembly of information. You can nitpick all the pieces of art you want, but do not lose the beauty of the work itself. Most of oral poetry likes to evolve and create new branches. Is the story of Percival and the Holy Grail a negligible piece of King Arthur's tales because it was added top of it by false pretenses? No, the art is a higher concept than the materialistic world. The artist has taken us to see something different. Most of these Golden Age composers, painters, sculptors, and architects were not modern men and women, but spiritual creatures. They did not bound themselves in the realms of economy. They were not just nationalists, they were romantic nationalists. We can call them silly, but there is nothing silly in it. These metaphysical concepts have materialized, and without them, there will be no concept of modern nationhood. The art has created the concept of nation and proven that there exist people known as Finns. A modern technocrat can't understand that the pillar he is standing on, imagination, is the force of creation. It makes the impossible possible, even if it takes 100 years. So you have to be romantic. I think so. I think that it is the only force in life that really gives us something. When it comes to projecting romance towards opposing sex, nobody really tries to deny it. But when we project this passion into higher concepts, it seems to become a huge taboo in the modernity. There can't be nothing else than economic growth, and without it, modern right-wing falls into existential crisis. It is true that many painters were through history just hired artisans in feudal societies. Still, the best of them accepted poverty for the sake of their art. It was not just slow poisoning from the paint chemicals during the later years, but the painters literally chose harsher and impossible trails to follow in the name of their own passion. So when someone becomes reactionary in their great desperation, they also turn into myths, but without the romantic understanding of them. They are like artifacts instead of true spiritual concepts of imagination. Although these Finnish Golden Age painters were nationalists, but their main opponents were not socialists at this point of the time. If you were a nationalist at the turn of 19th century in Europe, then your opposing forces were the House of Habsburg and its various ruling dynasties that stand on their way. As I leave you with this piece of Sibelius, I would like to tell one more interesting fact about him. His family lineage was mostly just Finnish peasants, but he himself never accepted this and thought of himself descending from nobles. He wanted the creation of Finland and the wake of the common man to know his destiny. Still, he could never accept his roots. He had to imagine another identity where this flow of creation could sparkle from, something more higher than he himself.